Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another Movie Nights movie review. Today we are talking about Superman. This film is written and directed by James Gunn, and it is the first film in the new DCU, new DC Cinematic Universe. I'm joined, as always, by the amazing Nick Iricchio. Nick, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing super, buddy.
I knew it. I knew that was going to be the one.
That was low hanging fruit for that one,
but it was okay.
It was
Sometimes you got to go with the low-hanging fruit. You know,
I could have also said terrific.
Hey, listen, and we'll get to that here in a second. Obviously, look, this is a movie that I have been so excited about, like, ever since it was announced. I mean, I'm wearing the goddamn hat, for Christ's sake. And so, naturally, when you go into these things with a lot of hype, like, and you can attest to this when you see movies with me, before a movie starts, I kind of, like, bring it down. I'm like, all right, let's calm down. Let's watch this. Let's take it in. Let's feel what we think. Let's kind of go through it. And I'm very happy to report that I really, really like this movie. It rules pretty hard. And, there are definitely things to criticize about it and things that I'm going to get into. But overall, I do want to say I really like the film. I think it's quite good. And a lot of that is due to a lot of the performances. We'll start with that. David Corenswet is really great as Superman and as Clark Kent. He does a great job giving a humanized performance because the script does a lot to try to humanize the character. And I think that dynamic of the humanization of Superman is well done. Rachel Brosnahan is excellent as Lois Lane. Their chemistry is amazing. Like, I can definitely see why, when they were pairing them together, like, why these two, like, this was the option, like, was these two. Nicholas Hoult absolutely crushes as Lex Luthor, which I'm sure we'll get to in a second. But the movie has also a lot of standout characters. Mr. Terrific, who's in this film, who is a character from more recent comics, phenomenal in the movie, but almost steals the movie. Mr. Terrific was great, and Eddie Gathegi, I believe is how you pronounce the actor's name, did a great job. And also, you have Nathan Fillion and Sky Garner, you have Isabella Marcet, Hawkgirl, all welcome additions to the movie. Jimmy Olsen. There's a running joke that I'm not going to give away. There's a running joke with Jimmy Olsen that is so damn funny and works so well that I was eating it up. And Wendell Pierce as Perry White was also a good casting choice. And some of these characters don't get a lot of the shine that you would kind of hope or think that they would. And that's because the movie does have a lot. There's a lot going on, which is partially a negative, but also the movie has a lot to do. It's establishing a new world. It's telling a new Superman story. And I think something that I can also say about the movie is that I kind of went in thinking, oh, it's going to be similar to a version of Superman I've seen before, because we have the 78 Superman, we have the Man of Steel Superman, both movies that I adore and love. Superman Returns was basically just an extension of 78, which is why I don't really include it. So I'm like, oh, it's probably just going to be like Superman 78, or some people might be going in thinking like, oh, it's probably going to be like Man of Steel. It's really not like either of them. It's a very singular kind of vision for a Superman movie, which is very refreshing and cool to see. I think the action in the film was really well done. I think that the humor obviously works well. James Gunn is very good at that. Going into some of the negatives in the film, I do think that the movie stumbles a bit in the second act. There's a particular part in the second act that I really don't want to spoil or give away, but the movie kind of felt like it was losing its momentum a little bit and losing the story that it was telling. And then quickly, in the second to third act break, it picks back up and it finishes very, very strong, not only on a physical level, but also just an emotionally satisfying level. I thought worked really well. Also, and this might seem nitpicky, but I don't think it is, I was really kind of let down by the score of the movie. Whenever it does iterations of the John Williams, it's great, obviously, but I don't think a singular other piece of music really stood out to me. And I might be in the minority on that, and that's no disrespect to the composer, who I've liked some of their work in the past before, but the score just wasn't really digging it for me. But other than it kind of dipping in the second act and doing that, and going back to just having a lot to do, the movie has a lot going on. But what was nice as a fan of comics is it kind of drops you into a world that's already established. It kind of lets you know what's going on in this world as you enter it. And that was really exciting and really fun. This movie kind of goes back to Superman's Golden Age sci-fi roots, which was very, very cool. Tons of weird shit goes on in the movie that I enjoyed. I know that it's going to have different opinions from everybody else and how people kind of take that, especially like a general audience. But there's a bunch of weird sci-fi shit that I was all about. And we have to talk about crypto. All over the marketing, crypto worked exceptionally well in the movie. I loved every scene with crypto. I loved every moment they were building. In terms of pacing, other than the little part in the second act where I think it was kind of losing steam a bit, I thought it was paced relatively fine. Like I said, it had a lot to juggle, it had a lot to do, and for the most part, it doesn't crumble under that weight. It does it in a satisfying way that makes it feel like you're stepping into a part of a much bigger, already established world while also giving you a new Superman to love. I enjoyed the movie a lot. Nick, I've just rambled for like 5 minutes, so I'm going to throw it over to you. What did you think of Superman?
No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a great time watching it. I kind of went in with some hesitation. The marketing had kind of been a little all over the place, but I enjoyed a lot of what I had saw. And there's a lot of online discourse about the movie, so I think maybe it was kind of getting in my head a little bit about it. But in James Gunn we trust. I had a great time watching it. I think that I'll kind of start with what you did with the performances, right? I thought Rachel Brosnahan had knocked it out of the park. I think she was a terrific Lois Lane. Edie was a great Mr. Terrific. I think he may have been my favorite character in the movie personally. And David Corenswet, I loved to see Superman kind of characterized in the way that he was in this, where he's very dorky, he's very goofy, almost in the kind of self-aware sense of like he knows Superman is a superhero and kind of plays into that a little more, which is something that really worked for me. And in terms of other things that I thought, where my main kind of hesitations lied were with crypto, which I thought worked really well for the story, and the Justice
Justice Gang.
Gang, the corporate superheroes as they've been marketing with Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific. I was very curious to see how that interplay would happen in the greater narrative of the world and the movie. And I thought it worked really well for me personally. I thought that every time they came on screen, that group, I thought that their chemistry was really good. Nathan Fillion is terrific as Guy Gardner. And I'm very excited to see how that character shows up in the Lanterns TV show with the
Yeah.
in this movie.
Hmm.
I am very interested in that moving forward. And I loved the whole Daily Planet gang. I wish we really got a little bit more of them than we ultimately did, but I thought that
Hmm.
the choices were all excellent across the board. I was a big fan of all the sci-fi stuff that you were talking about. I thought that it took Superman in a lot of very interested directions, which I feel like with the Man of Steel stuff, we did get some sci-fi elements, but this felt very like comic booky sci-fi, which
Mm.
I was personally eating up. Anthony Kerrigan shows up as Metamorpho. I thought he has a very small role, but I thought it was a very impactful role for the narrative as well. And of course, Nicholas Hoult is absolutely terrific as Lex Luthor. It is great to see a villain characterized again where their sole purpose is just hatred for the superhero.
Yes.
Like he does not care about anything else, and the movie does not hold back any punches with him being a bad guy. He does some dark stuff in this movie that I was actually genuinely shocked by. And I thought Nicholas Hoult was a great choice to play the character. It's very interesting, especially considering he auditioned for Superman for this movie. To see him then being a great Lex Luthor, I thought the action was very well done as well. There's a scene we got a little bit in the trailer of the Superman fight with the kaiju, with the quote unquote Hammer of Bavaria, I think was the character's called.
Hmm.
And I thought the way the fight scenes were filmed was very interesting. It was very different than what I was expecting. It's a departure sort of too from James Gunn's sort of action style. But that being said, the best fight sequence in the movie is very much in the James Gunn style. And it's a scene involving Mr. Terrific, which may have been just the standout scene of the movie for me, along with the standout character. In terms of negatives, I kind of echo your sentiment. I think there was some pacing issues throughout, and I think Superman has always run that line of like the Boy Scout superhero, And I think a few monologues about hope and stuff, I think could have been, while they're delivered well, I think they could have been a little more better written, as I butcher that sentence in English. Um, I think that those were the moments that it kind of bordered on the cheesiness, but it does have that overall James Gunn weirdness and zaniness that you're kind of expecting. And in terms of just another positive for the movie, I really like what you were saying about the movie just being thrown in. You superheroes are here. Here we go. Lois and Clark are together. Here's the Daily Planet crew, and I think the movie does a great job of already establishing what Lois and Clark's relationship is like. I think
Mm.
it's really good establishing what the camaraderie of the Daily Planet is. And everything's going on, right? Superman already knows the Justice Gang. This isn't anything new. And I think that as an audience, as an audience member watching this, that momentum that's already built into the character dynamics to me helped me as an audience member keep up with the momentum of the movie. Because the movie does move pretty fast
Yeah.
considering it's a 2 hour movie. I just kept wanting, like, it moves at a breakneck pace, which I thought was beneficial with it because the movie doesn't really take place over the course of a long period of time. So watching Superman like trying to catch up with everything and you as the audience trying to keep up with him, I thought worked really well.
I agree. I agree with you. And to your sentiment about just kind of that hopscotch walk between cheesy and endearing, I think that is a very small issue the movie has because, like I said, I think the movie overall does a great job kind of humanizing Superman, but there are moments in the script where a story beat calls for a character to say a thing about how they're feeling and what they represent, both usually with Superman being the one. And while the story beat's there, the sentiment is there, the dialogue just wasn't. There's a couple moments like that, but then there is to me the best scene in the film. There's a scene with Superman and Pa Kent that's like chef's kiss, knocked it out of the park when it comes to that sentiment. And I think that, that is going to be, I think, a moment that people really take away from the movie and remember as a really great one. There's also
And I think if you oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah, one, the parents were wonderfully cast. I thought they were very heartwarming, endearing. Like I loved every time they were on the screen. And I think too with the dialogue and the cheesiness, I don't think at any point though does the movie mischaracterize what the characters are.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
even in that cheesiness, you're like, yeah, Superman would say some cheesy shit like that, wouldn't he?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
and same thing with Lex. I mean, every single character I thought was wonderfully cast, and I think the performances are very attuned to what those characters are in every sort of media form.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And to the point of like the parents and all these other characters, it did a good job of like being established in the world. But with that being said, I do wish that we got some more time with some of these people because, like I said, the movie does have a lot going on. But I think overall, since it's now laid the groundwork of the universe, whenever we come back to this world, come back to these characters, we no longer have to do all that, and we can spend more time with the characters. So I'm hoping that trade-off is worth how they use it in the movie. But yeah, just to kind of, one thing I do want to say, yes, the scene with Mr. Terrific is excellent. That action scene was awesome. There's an awesome fight with Superman and Ultraman too. I'm just throwing that out there. But yeah. So overall, I really, really like the movie. I'm going to be seeing it several times. It's nice to have a brand new Superman movie. It's nice to have like the DC world back on screen again. I'm very curious by the public reaction to the movie because there's a lot of sci-fi weird shit, like I said, and I don't know how accessible that is, but we'll see. And yes, it has some pacing issues in the second act, and yes, sometimes that line between endearing and cheesy can get crossed. But overall, definitely tried their. It's you could tell they tried to be very four quadrant with the movie about something that's very hyper specific with comic books, and they did their best in that regard. And I think it's gonna be interesting to see how kids and how families react to the movie. I'm excited. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to what they do next. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think that there's some weird shit in there, but that's what you expect from a James Gunn movie.
Exactly.
That's why I go to see a James Gunn film, and I think it works.
No, 100%, 100%. But guys, once you've had a chance to see it, let us know what you think about it down in the comments below. Also, would you like us to see a spoiler review? Obviously, we'd wait for the movie to come out and open over the weekend, but there are some fun spoilers in the movie that I'd love to talk about and love to dive into. So if you want to see that, let us know also. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next review.